Okay, today's maths lesson, you will be learning how to multiply fractions. Okay, can you remember the parts of a fraction? What do we call the top part of a fraction? The numerator. And what do we call the bottom part of the fraction? Denominator. Can you remember, these are what we've been looking at this week and last week. What sort of fractions or numbers are these? So we've got fraction, we've got something there. Can you remember what we call them? Well, this one here is a proper fraction. Now, these are what you were looking at yesterday and the day before. Can you remember what we call those? Oh, we've gone down here. There's an improper fraction. Remember when the numerator is bigger than the denominator? Proper fraction. So the one that's coming up next is the mixed number. So today you're going to be looking at multiplying fractions by whole numbers, and some of you may even move on to multiplying fractions by other fractions. So here we have a calculation. 5 times a half. Now, to help you understand this a bit better, I have put this number line down here to show you. So if that's 5 and that's 0, that must be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And between each number, it's being divided into 4 separate pieces, as you can see there. So if that's 4, and that's 4.5, then half of a half is a quarter, remember. So this is being separated into divisions of quarters. So 5 times a half, well, that's 1/2. That's 2 halves. That's 3 halves. That's 4 halves. And that is where you would be on 5 times a half. So as you can see here, the answer would be 5 halves. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 halves. But that's an improper fraction. And we can turn that into a mixed number, which would be 2.5. And you can see how that's been represented here. On this number line, there's 1, there's 2. 5 halves came all the way up to 2.5. So here are some examples. If you've got 2 and you want to multiply it by a quarter, so 2 times a quarter. Well, what's that saying is, what is 2 quarters? It's 2 quarters. Or in its simplest form, it's a half. 4 times 1/6. Well, 4 times 1/6 is 4/6. In its simplest form, would be 2/3. So you can see it's not that complicated. 1/8 times 9. Well, if I've got 1/8 and I times it by 9, then I've got 9/8. But that is an improper fraction. So I could change that into 1 and 1/8, because 8 goes into 9 once, and then there's 1/8 left over. Here's another picture to show you. So if you've got 3 times 3/4, so here's the number line again, and it's split into quarters still. So we're looking at 3/4. So 1, 2, 3/4 would be here. So that's 1, 1, 2, 3/4 would be there. So that's 2, and I needed to get to 3, remember. So 3 times 3/4 would be there on the number line. And that would be, let's have a look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 quarters. And because 9 quarters is an improper fraction, written as a mixed number, that would be 2.25, because 4 goes into 9 twice with 1 left over. Multiplying fractions. The first thing you need to do is multiply the numerators. Simple, it's really not that difficult. So here we've got 2/3 multiplied